Hey everybody, Vincent Ayala here today to talk to you about the programming page. So we've started with this configuration. We've got a couple of single connector inputs. We have a dual connector input, imported some stills into the mix, and we have 5 screen destinations. One is a single output screen destination, while screen destination 5 is a dual output screen destination. We've added an aux, and we've assigned a multi-viewer to the final HDMI output here. We will now move from the configuration page to the programming page by clicking the programming page button. Now I like to journey through this from left to right, top to bottom, and as we talk about this, I'll show you what I mean by that. If we take a look at the left-hand side, first, we have our All Sources list, or All Sources tab. So if we furl these down, we have our inputs that we have created, we have our stills, we have our destinations, and we have our multi-viewers. These can all be used as sources. Some are, of course, physical inputs, some are captured stills, and some are internally created destinations. And we have our multi-viewer down below here. Everything you see in this list can be used as a source in your layers, backgrounds, and/or your auxes. Here at the bottom, we can upload a still PNG file. If we hit this little plus button, it'll pop open your Windows Explorer where we can pick stills from and import them. Additionally, we have a meter to tell us how much storage capacity we have. Moving back to the top, we have the folder menu. Our new folder menu allows us to create a new folder, so we can name that New Sources. We could take our sources and move them to that folder by clicking the Move Source to New or Existing Folder, where we could select our new sources and hit Add. If we click the New Sources tab here, we can see that the sources that I had added are present in that tab. However, we're going to go back to All Sources because I want to walk through some of these buttons and features before we move on. Here we have our source list toggle that we can enable, and it will show us our sources. Next to the source list toggle, we have the Expand Collapse button, which will allow us to expand or collapse all of our sources below. Then we have our Refresh Thumbnail button. This will capture a thumbnail from a live source and apply it to the input list below. Next to that, we have our Create New Folder button, which creates a new folder or tab that can be seen next to the All Sources tab above. We are going to hold off on making a new folder because I'm going to show you the folder functionality here shortly. And finally, we have the Show List View button that will show or hide the list view below, effectively exposing or hiding the thumbnails that you may create with the refresh button or assign on your own. Let's dive a little deeper into that All Sources tab. Here's a list of all the sources we can choose from. Below, we have our lists of inputs and sources. The name can be changed in the configuration page, but under the name, we provide the resolution and frame rate. You may notice that we have our backup feature here. So if I furl this down, this is going to show me the assignable backups. Here we have our refresh thumbnail. We have our freeze input. We have our capture still. And we have our Add New Source. Before we move on, I want to show you how to assign your own thumbnail. You click this box, then navigate to Windows Explorer to select an image file. Now, if we move across the top, we have our Destination tab centered here. Our destination tabs are quite cool and flexible. You can reorder them if you wish. Here I have Screen Dest 1 and Screen Dest 2. I can swap these around. Furthermore, I can focus on a screen destination by selecting it. So here I have selected Screen Destination 1, and that gives us a little bit more focus, right? Because it doesn't show us any other screen destinations. I can click the View All button, and that will show me all of the destinations. Now you see this little blue checkbox next to the Destination tab? What that does is that arms or disarms the destination for transition. So as you can see, as I uncheck all of these boxes, the destinations become unarmed. And as I uncheck all of them, the All Trans button in the bottom right hand corner actually deactivates, because there's nothing armed for transition now. This is key functionality for creating presets, which I will show you in detail in a later video. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go recheck all of them by selecting each one individually, or I can check the box next to View All, and that will arm or disarm all of them for transition, as you see here. Next to that, we have our Freeze Destination Output, where if a destination output is chosen, you can freeze it. We can show hide our output AOI markers. So let's check that and see what that looks like. Now again, that's only inside of Event Master Toolset software. You would not see those AOI markers on the physical output. Here we have the Reset Workspace view. Now this button is super cool because what it does is it allows us to reset the workspace if we make any changes to it, like this, where I'm maybe making one window bigger, one window smaller, kind of customizing the windows to fit my workflow. Okay, now you might say, well, what is this workspace view that you keep talking about? Well, down here below we have the preview, highlighted in green, where you set up your look, and then we have our program, highlighted in red, which is where we have a virtual representation of the program outputs that you'll see in the multi-viewer over there. Now I've already set up my multi-viewer to save some time because we've covered that in a previous video. So I'm just going to kind of roll with this, assuming you understand the multi-viewer concept. I can create looks in the preview and transition them to program with the All Trans buttons on the bottom right of the screen here, highlighted in gray. Now you might take a look at this and say, what's going on here? How can I decipher all this information? There's a lot of destinations on my screen, and maybe I just want to focus on just a few destinations at a time. Well, you can click a single destination to focus, or you can use layouts. Now I'll have a video on layouts and destination groups a little bit later. This next part is what we call the screen layer bar. By default, to activate the screen layer bar, I need to click on a single screen destination or have a layout that has 3 or less screen destinations in it. As you can see, the screen layer bar is the bar that sits between the preview and program that shows your available screen layers. If I want to manually hide the bar, I can click the layer view toggle here. Now if we take a look at this and say, okay, I want to use layer 1A in preview to start building a look. I can drag layer 1 from my screen layer bar and drop it right in. And you'll notice that it has a couple of pieces of information within it. It says no source, layer 1 alpha, pip, mix, and whether it's locked or not. Now it doesn't have a source in it because I haven't placed a source from my sources tab. So currently it's just an empty layer. Now if I were to take a look at my multi-viewer here, it's black on black right now because I haven't assigned a background color or a background layer, and the layer itself is black. That's because there's no source assigned to that layer. Let's change that. As you can see, as soon as you click the BG button, this tab on the right changes context. That is the Contextual Adjust tab. That tab will change as you click through different elements in Toolset, thus the name Contextual Adjust tab. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper on that tab later in the video, but for now, let's assign a matte color instead of a black background. Let's turn it to this purple hue right here. So now we have a purple background in our preview with one layer over the top of it. Now we can take an input source from our input source list on the left side and drag it down and drop it in there. Now because we had created thumbnails for all of these beforehand, it's giving me a thumbnail view in my Event Master toolset. That's great. So now I've created a little bit of a look, and I could transition that to program by selecting the All Trans, but I'm not going to. I just wanted to give you an example of how to pull a layer from the layer bar in the center to our screen. I could have pulled a source from the source list and dragged it directly into the preview or program window, which would have assigned that source to the first available layer, which in this instance would be layer 2 if I click and drag this. Furthermore, now that I have assigned sources to that layer, the next time I pull that layer from the screen layer bar, it will have the last populated source occupying it. Since we are on the subject of layers, preview, and program, let's take a look at a few items in the workspace that are interesting. How about this lock icon here? If we click this lock icon, it will unlock and allow us to manipulate the live program. This is super useful when you want to see changes you make live on the program outputs. I could have done all of this live by unlocking the program and then dragging the layer out for that destination, or going in, changing the background color again. I'm not going to do that here, as I will show you a sweet example of this in the presets video. To be fair, this is the nuts and bolts of this demonstration. You have your preview section down below here, where you make your look, and then you transition it to program up above here. So what I'll do is I'll hit the All Trans, and then it does a match program in preview. So I could, maybe make some changes, scale up, scale down, move some stuff around, and then hit All Trans, and then you can see the preview go to program. Now, as I make those changes, you're also seeing that every other destination is transitioning with it as well. Now, they may be going black to black, and that's okay, but we know they're changing. So what that tells us is that the ARM transitions are working correctly. We're not just transitioning screen destination 1 because that's where our focus is. We're actually transitioning all of our other destinations as well. Now, with that layer 1 selected over there in destination 1, I can go to my contextual adjust tab and I can start to make some adjustments for that layer. So in the adjust layer tab, I could take the layer, I could turn it from a pip to a key, I can assign a matte color as a source, I can drop keyframes in here if I was going to do moves, I could select some settings on it to do like a border or shadow, I can change the unit type from pixel to percentage, I could do the border width, I can even change the color of the matte if I chose to use a matte as my layer here, but I didn't. I can go in and I can get precision mapping on pips and layers, so I can come in here and go, okay, I want a very specific 1920 by 1080 pip size, and I want that to start at maybe the 600th pixel by vertical position 0, which is 600 pixels off-centered horizontally to the right, and then vertically centered. Additionally, I can adjust source size and scale of the source used in the layer. I can adjust the mask if I wanted to, so we can see that masking off left and right, or I can reset everything to default. And if I reset everything to default, that alters not only the size, but the position and any kind of mask, border, or shadow I had added. So we're going to move on from that. The next tab is called the Adjust Source tab. And this is where I can adjust the source that's inside the layer, because the scaler inside the layer can be adjusted, not just the size of the layer can be adjusted. Now, to be fair, the next 3 tabs, we will create very specific videos on them, so I won't address them here beyond mentioning their location. This is where you will find the presets, user key functionality, and cues tab. So I'm going to click on screen destination 1 because I want to concentrate on that while I show you the next portion of the video. I want to make it very clear, just because you're focused on screen destination 1 doesn't mean you're only transitioning screen destination 1. If you only want to transition one destination at a time, then you would want to deselect all of the other destinations and only select destination number 1 for transition. So we're focusing on screen destination number 1. I'm going to go in and I'm going to select a layer and I'm going to hit clear, and what that does is that clears it from our screen destination. Now we can see in preview is different from program, so if we hit the All Trans, it will send that blank preview up to program. Now we have no layers active, so I'm going to drag some back out into preview. Here we have the reset button. If we had selected all or had multiple layers out like this, and we hit select all, reset all, we can see that all the layers were reset. Or we could select one and reset it. So we can do a match program button. This will take whatever layer is selected and will apply the attributes to its counterpart in preview. If we had multiple outputs in our screen destination, we could hit the merge or unmerge button. And what that's going to do is that's going to activate what we call output layers. The new output layers deserves its own video, so let's not worry about that for now. We have the split button, where we can split the layer from a mix layer to a single layer. Now, in our previous products and some other manufacturers' current products, this is done in a pre-configuration mode, but we don't do pre-configuration anymore. In fact, we can change between mix layer and single layer preset to preset. We can freeze the layer, we can activate toggle and swap to get it to act like a traditional video switcher. Additionally, we can hide or show the layer. Now, that hide or show doesn't actually hide or show the layer from preview or program. What it does is it hides or shows it from recording it in a relative preset. Additionally, if you do not want to do an all trans and transition all the layers on your screen or all the destinations that you may have armed, you can do what we call a layer transition. This transition is just the specific layer transition. This does not transition any other layers in the destination that are not selected. Or we could do a cut, or we could set up a move, a really quick, easy move, by the way. We have our layer resize section, where you can resize and align the layer according to the buttons shown here. Feel free to explore those on your own. Careful though, some are aspect ratio respectful and some are not. Here we have a couple of other small user features, like the toggle GUI layer opacity, so that you can see behind a layer while you're programming, and you can lock the layer so it can't be altered. Now let's wrap this up by checking out the align buttons on the left here. Most notably the newest addition to EventMaster toolset, which is the match V-size button here. With this feature, if you have a layer with a specific size and you want another layer to be the same V size, all you need to do is select the original first layer, then select the layer or layers you want to match at the same time by clicking the control button and selecting the second layer and clicking this button. It will match the V size of the first selected layer. I feel like the rest of these are mostly self-explanatory except for the two major different types of align buttons. On the bottom we have align absolute, which will align the layer to the AOI of the output. I don't think that needs a real demo, and I encourage you to experiment with those on your own time. But above that we have the align relative buttons. These will align to other layers if you have more than one selected. This is a slightly more complicated concept, so I'm going to give you a quick demo on it. I'm going to start this by clearing all of my layers. Then I'm going to bring in 3 layers by grabbing some sources from the All Sources tab. If I use layers 1, 2, and 3, let me shuffle these around and start to align them by eye. Now I can see that no matter how hard I try, I cannot align them perfectly. So instead of typing in the layer sizes and position by hand for each pip, I can use these align relative buttons, like the align relative bottom button. Let me select all 3 pips and click the align relative button. See how that aligns them according to the lowest pip? Pretty sweet, huh? I could be here all day explaining these buttons, but I want you to do some experimentation with those on your own time. Now I think that about wraps it up. Please feel free to explore some of our other videos. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us at Encore3 at Barco.com. Thanks and take care.